Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Respectable ones in Iman, I welcome you all to the second episode of our Ramadan series. Insha'Allah, we begin today with Bismillāhir-Raḥmānir-Raḥīm. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Respectable ones in Iman, when you flip through the entire Qur'an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begin every chapter with this phrase, with the exception of Surah At-Tawbah. Scholars say that it reminds us that every action begins with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with regards to this phrase, some scholars says, it is a verse on its own, which distinguishes each chapter from another. Respectable ones in Iman, and they say it is not part of the chapters of the Qur'an. It is just a verse on its own, with the exception of Surah Al-Fatiha, where most scholars said it is part of the surah. And there's one in Surah An-Naml where Allah said, Innahu min Sulaiman wa innahu Bismillāhir-Raḥmānir-Raḥīm. Respectable ones in Iman, afterwards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begin the noble chapter, Surah Al-Baqarah, with Alif Lām Mīm. Alif Lām Mīm. These and 8 kinds have appeared in the noble Qur'an, in 29 surahs of the noble Qur'an. Respectable ones in Iman, some of them appeared as single letters, others as 2 letters, 3 letters, 4 letters, and 5 letters. Those that appeared as single letters, we have Noon, we have Qaf, we have Sod. Others appeared as 2 letters like Taha, Yasin, and some of them appeared as 3 letters like Alif Lām Mīm. We have Alif Lām Ra, and the likes. Respectable ones in Iman, some appeared as 4 letters like Alif Lām Mīm Sod, and some appeared as 5 letters like Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sod. And what is the meaning of these abbreviated letters or detached letters called Huruful Muqatta'at in the noble Quran? Respectable ones in Iman, most scholars have tried all their possible best to give meaning to these letters. I'll give you example. There is a scholar called Abdurrahman bin Zayd bin Aslam. He said, Innama hiya asma'u suwari, that they are just the names of chapters in the noble Quran. There is a popular scholar of tafsir called Abul Qasim Mahmud ibn Umar al-Zamakhshari. He also said in his tafsir, wa alayhi itbaqul akthar. He said in his tafsir that most scholars agreed with this opinion that there are the names of chapters in the noble Quran. Respectable ones in Iman, trust me, the popularly known scholars of tafsir like Imam Qurtubi, like Ibn Kathir, Jalaluddin al-Sayuti, and Jalaluddin Ahmad Mahalli, in their tafsir, they said, Allahu a'lam bimuradihi bizalik. Why? Because they said, that here mimma ista'athara Allahu bi'ilmihi, for that matter, faraddu ilmaha ila Allahi walam yufassiruha. For them they said that their meaning is among the knowledge that Allah alone has kept to himself, and no one except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the meaning of these letters. For that matter, they said, they always say, Allah alone knows the meaning of these letters. Respectable ones in Iman, some scholars of tafsir, they said, Allah used these letters in the noble Quran for some few reasons. One, لِلتَّحَدِّي وَالْإِعْجَازِ, to serve as a challenge and miraculousness. Challenge to which people? To the disbelievers, those who oppose the Quran. Allah challenged them in numerous places in the noble Quran that if they think the Quran is fabricated, as they always say, then they should also come up with a Quran. Allah in the noble Quran, He said in Surah Al-Isra, Quran chapter 17 verse 88, Allah said, قُلْ لَإِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ أَلَا أَنْ يَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ لَا يَأْتُونَ بِمِثْلِهِ وَلَوْ كَانَ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ ظَهِيرًا. Allah said, if mankind and jinn gather together to produce the like of this Quran, wallahi, they cannot produce the like of it, even if they help one another. Respectable ones in Iman, that is the entire Quran. In another verse, Allah challenged them that they should produce just 10 surahs. And Allah said in Surah Al-Hud that قُلْ فَأْتُوا بِأَشْرِ سُوَرِ مِثْلِهِ مُفْتَرِيَاتٍ وَدُعُوا مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Allah said, say, then bring 10 surahs like it. And Allah added, that fabricated one, and call whoever you can beside Allah if you are truthful. Respectable ones in Iman. Finally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy to them, and He said, just provide a single surah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He stated in Surah Al-Baqarah that وَإِن كُنتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِّثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you are in doubt about what I have revealed to our servant, then produce a surah like it and call your witness besides Allah if you are truthful. Just a surah. So they were unable to produce. So it is just a challenge to the disbelievers of Mecca, because they understand Arabic, they speak Arabic. Yet Allah told them, okay, if you say the Quran is fabricated, then I challenge you to produce a surah from your own, if only you think you can also fabricate. Respectable ones in Iman, some scholars also said that these letters, that's the huruful muqatta'at, they are used in the glorious Quran not because of anything. لِلتَّنْبِيهِ وَجَلَبِ الْإِنْتِبَاهِ, that it is used to attract attention. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used it to attract the attention of the disbelievers. Immediately the Prophet start reciting the Quran. When he says, Alif Lām Mīm, they will be expecting to hear what he is going to say afterwards, because these are strange words which doesn't form an apparent meaning. For that matter, they will be waiting to hear what the Prophet will say afterwards. And some scholars said that sirrum min asrarillah, that it is just a secret from the secrets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And no one except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the meaning of these verses, respectable ones in Iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you look at the Quran, there is a great observation made by scholars of tafsir. Wherever they occur, this huruful muqatta'at, then that is about 23 of the 29 surahs it's appeared in the Quran. The surah follows immediately with some expression about the Quran and its importance. This in itself indicates that there is a great link between these huruful muqatta'at, the abbreviated letters, the detached letters, and that of the Quran. I will give you examples. In this chapter, Surah Al-Baqarah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Alif Lām Mīm, and the next thing He said, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah said, this is the book in which there is no doubt, and it's a guidance for the righteous. After saying Alif Lām Mīm, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, or he talked about the Qur'an. And in another surah, in Surah Al-Imran, Allah said, Alif Lām Mīm, and he said, نزل عليك الكتاب بالحق. He has sent down to you the book in truth, or with truth, respectable ones in Iman. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the next verse speaks about the revelation of the Qur'an, which is linked to that of the abbreviated letter of the surah. In Surah Yunus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Alif Lām Mīm, Tilka ayatul kitabil hakim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after mentioning the abbreviated words, then he said, these are the verses of the wise book, that is Al-Quran. In Surah Yusuf, Allah said again, Alif Lām Mīm, Tilka ayatul kitabil mubin. After mentioning the abbreviated words, the next thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said is, these are the verses of the clear book. In Surah Taha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, Taha ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after mentioning the abbreviated letters Taha, and he said, we have not sent down the Quran to you to cause you distress. So scholars said, whenever you see these abbreviated letters in the Noble Quran, in 23 chapters of the 29, it appeared in the Quran. Then right after it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he speaks about the Quran. It's an observation scholars have made, and they said there is a link between them and the Quran. But trust me, the best meaning to these words, to these abbreviated words, to these huruful muqatta'at is Allahu a'lam bimuradihi bidhalik. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knows the meaning of these words. This book. Wassalamu alaikum.